You are listening to the We Are West Ham Opposition View with me, Will Pugh. I'm delighted to say joining us this week for the very first time on the We Are West Ham podcast, head of Sunday's game at London Stadium with high-flying Newcastle United is Sun Sports' Toby Gannon. Huge Magpie. Toby, you weren't at the game the other night. I know you live down in London, but your voice will very quickly give away that you are a legitimate, genuine Geordie. Sometimes when we interview Manchester United fans or a few of the bigger teams from up north, their accent sounds suspiciously like mine, and we get a few fans going, exactly, where's that Manchester? Exactly, yeah. But look, only one place to start, really, mate. You're on a fine run of form at the moment, which we'll get into. But first and foremost, your very last game, a 4-1 victory over Kylian Mbappe and co at St James's Park the other night. Just talk to me about that. Amazing stuff.
Oh, honestly, mental. I mean, look, we've got to prepare ourselves coming up against European record holders right now with your gorgeous unbeaten run. But I don't think anyone expected that. I thought it was weird. We were favourites going into the game. I guess just because we're at home, but still, I wouldn't have thought so. But we just had them sort of man to man from the start. Atmosphere, the whole crowd was behind everyone all game. And I just think that they played an absolute blinder. They just stopped any of PSG's attack doing anything, and we were just all over them. Yeah,
I mean, it's sort of added to the storyline, certainly, with the local heroes and all that sort of thing scoring. Which local heroes, I only learnt the other night. Is that the name of a song you play, or is it the name of a film? From the soundtrack of a song you play. What? I'm confused.
No. It's our sort of soundtrack before every game.
So that's the name of the song.
Yeah.
Right, I'm with you. But yeah, obviously Dan Burn, Sean Longstaff, both Geordie boys. Dan Burns in particular is an amazing story. Just battling his way up from non-league, and Sean Longstaff, as he said after the game, thought he was going to be out of the club about 3 years ago under Ashley. Huge turnaround. We can't deny, of course, that it's certainly in no small part thanks to the Saudi investment. But Eddie Howe, to be fair, has done a great job. And the other night, not that I'm here to do this, but the other night does help at least support the argument for those who, rally against a little bit of that whitewashing statement that it's all because of the Saudis, in that, well, listen, you have spent some money on some good players, and that undoubtedly helps other players in the team and squad become better. But Dan Burn and Sean Longstaff, and I think Jacob Murphy come off the bench, which made me chuckle. These are hardly like, glamorous state-sponsored oil baron signings, are they?
Yeah. I mean, like obviously, if we don't have Bruno and Isak and players like that in that game, then we're not winning that game. But it is quite nice to see that on the score sheet, 3 of those players were pre-takeover. Is that right? Yeah. It was, Dan Burn, obviously, we bought Longstaff, Fabian Schär, and it's just, it's incredible to think that the sort of turnaround that they've had, as you
Miggy Almiron
and Almiron as well. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. As you said, Longstaff talked about possibly not being at the club anymore. He's on that way out and stuff. Eddie Howe's just done such a brilliant job getting the best out of those players. Jacob Murphy, I mean, it's like him last season. He's had such an incredible turnaround. He's not starting for us, but for him to be coming on against PSG is just insane.
Yeah. No, it genuinely was. Look, I mean, there were some tweets after the game, and it's like, what an amazing story, especially for the fans. But let's not pretend it's not one super state beating another super state. And it's like, look, and I'm like, yeah, fair enough. There is a bit of that, but I do genuinely think, especially as supporters and as those who can't help it, right? You're a Newcastle fan. You didn't vote did you? Right? You didn't vote for your new owners. It's just what's happened. You're not going to. Well, I mean, some might, and a small percentage of your fans and Man City fans and Chelsea fans, I'm sure, did the same. But it's unlikely and a smidge unreasonable, I would argue, to expect fans who've loved Newcastle all their lives to just go, no, I'm not. I don't like Newcastle anymore. I'm a big Gateshead fan now. It's not really how football fandom works, does it? You know, you don't sort of look into the politics or morals of our owners and then do or don't go off the back of that. But is there, you know, is this success of yours, albeit it is genuinely impressive on a sporting front alone, the job Eddie Howe's done, is it tempered? How does it feel like enjoying all this among all the probably quite predictable retorts now, but also sometimes fair enough?
Yeah. Look, I think only the sort of idiots, because you do have idiots in every club, and there are idiots in Newcastle fans who will, you know, they won't accept any criticism of the ownership at all. You know, all of a sudden, everyone, you know, like they're pro-Saudi and stuff. It's like you wouldn't have probably had any idea what was going on before the takeover. And just because it's affiliated with Newcastle now, it's like, oh, let's defend them with our lives, sort of thing. So yeah, no, look, clearly massive issues which people have addressed so many times since the takeover, and I don't think should ever really, you know, you should never turn off from that. You should never sort of forget about it. But as you said, it's very difficult as a fan to not be enjoying sporting success and watching your team play well every week, which is what is all we wanted beforehand. What, you know, I don't think Newcastle fans wanted instant success to win things. We do want to win things, but we just wanted to have a season where you think, oh, there's going to be some improvement this season, and hopefully that's what we're getting.
Yeah, no, quite, mate. And I'm always careful to sort of, you know, we speak to Manchester City fans and Chelsea fans, and people always look at me weird when I sort of, you know, I say that you know, for example, I'd rather Manchester City win the league every season than Liverpool, and I'd rather, if it's a race between Chelsea and Arsenal to get in the top four, I'd rather Chelsea get there. And that is based on my experience of fans of all those clubs. And it's the same with Newcastle fans, right? You just suffered, basically. Well, you know, fans of Southend will go, you haven't suffered, and fans of Burial. But, you know, so there's all scales to it. I understand that. But it's been pretty bleak for a club of Newcastle size and a city which lives and breathes football and you know, loves the club as much as Newcastle fans do. It's been pretty bleak and rubbish, hasn't it? Like, you know.
But I always think that Newcastle and West Ham fans have a sort of similar. We've been on similar journeys. You know, you've had some terrible management, and you know the way your club's been run in years gone by. Luckily for you, it's looking a lot more on the up right now. But I feel like we're in this sort of similar. Both of us deserved a lot better than we've had for the last decade or however long it is. Yeah.
Just based on like size and passion of fan base, I guess.
Yeah, both very loyal fan bases. Yeah, I think we're fairly similar sized clubs. I don't know if West Ham fans think you're bigger, or Newcastle fans think you're bigger, but I think, you know, we're about there, aren't we?
Yeah. You are at risk sometimes, aren't you, as Newcastle fans, of doing the cardinal sin that Liverpool fans are good for, which is it means more to us. I get the impression Newcastle fans would be second only in the queue to Liverpool fans of demanding a game gets replayed if the AI decision goes against you.
I think it's just because of the one club city, though, isn't it? It's like,
yeah.
But you know, I don't think any Newcastle fan who hasn't lived in London can appreciate that. Yeah, there are lots of clubs in it, but you've still got very passionate fan bases within it. But yeah, Newcastle fans will say, because we are the only ones in Newcastle, that we are bigger. But
yeah. And I mean, and for the majority of fans, you have to live in Newcastle as well. So
That's an excuse me for living in London, like, but I did grow up there. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, look, I think whatever you say, and whether it's tempered or not, I do. It's funny because you look at Manchester City when they won the Champions League, and I know that clip went viral of them appearing sort of just to politely applaud at the final whistle. I'm sure that wasn't the case throughout the whole ground, but I'm always sort of quick to stress that and sort of treat it as two different bodies, really, as in like the ownership of the club and the political regime behind that. Is, it doesn't mean it's hardly like shock jock podcasting to go, they are terrible, and some of the things that the Saudi regime have done and their human rights abuses are bad. Like, no one's going, oh, no way. But I think it's important to separate the supporters of a club from that, because it would have been unreasonable to expect Chelsea fans not to celebrate. It wasn't their fault. Roman Abramovich picked them. He nearly picked Arsenal. He could have picked West Ham. He could have picked Tottenham. He didn't. That's not my fault. It's not Chelsea fans' fault. Same with Man City fans. Whenever I speak to them, that we just go, don't we, sort of blindly and go and support our club, basically, whatever happens. So I don't think you can give it to Newcastle fans too much. And I am sure that night, the other night, was one you remember for a long time. We're, of course, lucky at West Ham in that we've got the morally irreproachable porn baron running our football club. So we're fortunately in a high and mighty position where we can look down on fans of other teams. But listen, Toby, it's not just that PSG game. That was brilliant. Of course, you had a 0-0 draw away in AC Milan in the San Siro in your first game, but in between that and before, to be quite honest, basically since the Brighton, you lost 3-1 at Brighton on the 2nd of September. We actually beat Brighton away this season, so I'm taking heart from that automatically means we're better than you. But you beat Brentford 1-0. Then that AC Milan draw, as I mentioned, walloped Sheffield United 8-0 away, beat Man City at home in the League Cup in basically their own competition, a 2-0 win at Burnley, and then that game against PSG on Wednesday. That is an absolutely scintillating run of form. In 6 games there, you've conceded 1 goal against an attack which includes probably the best player in the world. All right, you've come up against some, other than City, that's in the League Cup, but they've still got some good players. This must be one of the greatest runs of form in your life.
It's so strange because at the start of the season there was a lot of grumbling because we had a very tough start. We lost against City, the Liverpool game, which I want to forget about, was awful. Conceded 2 late goals to Darwin Núñez, and they had 10 men as well. So that was totally 3 points dropped. And then Brighton, we just really weren't at it. But if you look at it now, I think any Newcastle fan would have taken where we are now. If you told them at the start of the season, you're going to lose 3 games to City, Liverpool, and Brighton. And also the thing is, we do have some injuries. The squad, we've improved the squad, so we're having to use that, obviously competing in Europe as well, which you'll know all about. But yeah, everyone's playing their part, and Eddie Howe doesn't really make big changes. But luckily, everyone who he is bringing in, like whether it be 2 or 3 players between 2 competitions, they're all slotting right in there. But I'm intrigued to see how it's going to work against you lot on Sunday, because, well, I mean, are you going to make any changes? Does Moyes do those?
Well, to be honest, I don't know if you saw our game last night against Freiburg away. A great, sensational win that is. Really, really is good. And it's one of those victories that will get underplayed because people shrug their shoulders and think David Moyes and West Ham should win that, which is so far from the truth. We've seen plenty of managers far better than David Moyes that lose the odd European game here and there. Last night, if we're ever going to lose one, I know we've got that record, and it is tempered by the fact that lots of it was in the Conference League, which only existed for 2 years, and you end up playing a couple of Sunday League-style teams who me or you could get a game for if we rubbed our boots off. But to be honest, you know, it's Freiburg away. They're going all right. They're 7th in the Bundesliga. It was our hardest game of the group campaign. There wasn't a single away fan in the ground, or certainly not legally anyway, because we had the away fan ban. And we've gone there, and other than a bit of a rocky spell when they got their goal and shortly afterwards, we've virtually dominated again. But the David Moyes' approach in the European competitions the last 2 seasons is get the group tied up early doors, and to allow him to rest players later on. So as you'll have seen last night, Jared Bowen, James Ward-Prowse started, Nayef Aguerd, Vladimir Soufal, all players who I expect. Mohamed Kudus, he may or may not start, I don't know, but most of those names there I've mentioned have been starting at every game in the Prem this season. I would expect to start on Sunday. I think, I don't know, I sort of get mixed feelings with that when you play after a European game. It obviously is slightly more beneficial to you because you've got that extra day and you're at home. So I think if it's ever going to make a difference, it'll be this week. But then you're coming to our place. I don't know. We've had really good results off the back of those games and really poor ones. So when it's West Ham, I don't think there's too much correlation. But what team do you expect? I know Sven Botman's out for a while still. What team do you expect for that game? 2:00 stadium.
Pretty similar to what we put out the other day. I'm pretty sure Gordon is banned. So possibly Joe Linton maybe comes in on the left wing. He wasn't even in the squad, but it looks like, well, that's touch and go whether he plays there. I can't really see how making too many changes. Maybe wouldn't give Livramento a go. I think Trippier will stay in. Lewis Hall we bought in summer from Chelsea, who's played once in the started in the Carabao Cup. Jacob Murphy might be coming in from the start. Hopefully Wilson is fit, because Isak, I think, definitely needs a bit of a break. He's played a lot of football recently.
Wilson loves a goal against West Ham as well.
Does, yeah.
Big time. Yeah.
Rub it in Antonio's face as well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the midfield is quite threadbare as well at the moment, with no Joe Willock either. Honestly, I think it'll be pretty similar. Maybe just 2 or 3 changes depending on injuries. I think as we're speaking, Eddie Howe's doing his press conference. So,
right, I see. Well, look, Toby, I really appreciate you coming on the show. We'll let you go very shortly. It's one of those games, right? 7th v 8th. 1 point separates us so far, and we're pleased with our start. You're relatively pleased with your start, as you've mentioned. Both sort of going great guns in Europe as well. Coming into the game in very similar places, really. Obviously, slightly different backstories, but so therefore, I'm sort of quite excited for it, thinking, this is going to be a really good game. I think a lot of people are doing that. I also look at the fact that you haven't conceded a goal for about 700 years, and David Moyes is happy to let other teams have the ball. It's one of those that it also screams 1-0 to someone, doesn't it? Or 0-0.
Yeah. I think our styles it's one of those ones where I feel you're really good at having that sort of low block and countering if that's how you need to play. And I'm not sure, we prefer if teams are going to come onto us a bit more space to attack and stuff. I'm not, sometimes we do struggle if we're just camped in the sort of final third. I don't think that'll be much in it.
No, I genuinely see it going like it can be a 1-0 one way or the other. What sort of style will it be? Will you be that sort of counter-attacky sort of team as well, or will you be happy to sort of try and put it onto West Ham a bit?
I think we will set up to attack, to have the ball. Come Sunday I might be totally wrong, but I think I don't know about you. I think you would probably be more happy to absorb pressure and counter.
Definitely.
Yeah,
there's a couple of games this season we've won with less than 30% possession. I think 22% was our record one against Chelsea. So, we're pretty good at that. Listen, Toby, it's been absolutely great having you on the show. What's the score going to be Sunday, 2:00 London Stadium?
You can go 1-1, I think.
Yeah, 1-1. I don't think you'd be a million miles off the mark with that. I think I'd be pretty happy with that, to be quite honest. I think taking a draw. Would you?
I mean, I think Newcastle fans would want to go and win, but you're saying it's like, it's after that big PSG win, it's how the team bounces back, how they get back up for that. I mean, if we do another 8-0 like we did with Brentford, I'll take that as well, mate. But no, I think you leave West Ham with a point. I don't think it would be the end of the world.
No, definitely not. Listen, Toby Gannon there, sports editor for The Sun. Toby, absolutely brilliant having you on the show. Thanks so much for joining us for the first time ever ahead of that West Ham Newcastle game on the weekend. I am going to say, just because I sort of have to, I reckon 1-0 to West Ham. Jared Bowen on the score sheet as ever. But yeah, once again, I'd be pretty damn happy. That would make for a good week if we come out of that with a draw. But Toby, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks to all of you for listening. Follow us on social media. We are _West Ham on Twitter, on Instagram. We are West Ham Pod. Follow us and subscribe on YouTube. All the usual stuff. Email us at wearewesthampod@gmail.com. Buy us a pint if you want to. buymeacoffee.com/wearewestham. That is all from me and Jonesy for this week. We'll be back again as usual with the full pod early next week for another opposition view. Great week so far. Newcastle coming up on Sunday. Up the Hammers. We'll see you next week.